while Biden was vice president. And it's just, there's a lot of different pieces to this because Republicans want now Joe Biden to release his information, and now Democrats want Trump to release his. And there's a lot of different ways this is going to go. And I mean, it's just dividing us further again between the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah, and amplifying their call were longtime leaders, including John Lewis of Georgia, and he said the civil rights icon often considered the House Democrats in this situation. And he said, and I quote, "Now was a time to act," said Lewis in an address to the House. "To delay or to do otherwise would betray the foundation of our democracy." And Trump went on his defense here, and he's has sought to implicate, and he tweeted out in all capital letters on Twitter that it, quote unquote, ruined his day and that it's presidential harassment. And this is what goes on. He's always defending any non-Trump and Trump hate per se. And this is going to be, again, interesting to see how this ends. And this is really kind of the start to his presidential campaign. He officially launched his campaign back in May, and he has his new slogan, "Keeping America Great," and also still using "Make America Great" again. So again, this is kind of right at the start of this is the crucial point. And let's say the Democrats do get President Trump impeached again. We've seen it happen before. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of money. And do you feel like in the long run, where if the Democrats feel confident in the 2020 election where they can get America to get behind the Democrats and vote Trump out of office, is it worth it to spend all the time and money to do this now instead of focusing on their own campaign? It's just a question. This is a conversation that people are having. Is it worth the time, the money, and the effort to try to impeach him now if the Democrats believe they can beat him in 2020?
Yeah, I think, Alex, that this whole impeachment thing really reveals that the Democrats don't think they can beat Trump in 2020 because, like you said, it's such a quick turnaround, and now Trump is going to spend a lot of the next year campaigning for re-election, and it really shows that the Democrats don't think they can really beat Trump in 2020, and we've seen that with a lot of different candidates coming up, and it is interesting timing, as you said, with Trump getting his campaign really underway in the next crucial year of this re-election process.
And then it goes back to, well, if let's say the Democrats get Trump impeached, it's going to take a lot of time, and there's so many different other avenues, and once they get impeached, then he needs to get removed from office. So if they get him removed from office, then who on the Republican side is going to then, well, I guess Mike Pence would then run for president if he wants to. And if Mike Pence doesn't, then it goes into the conversation, well, who on the Republican side do you think can go up against a Democrat? So it would be very interesting to see what's going to happen. And this is something that is a story that is going to be very, again, it's developing right now. It's going to develop even more throughout the entire day. I'm intrigued to see what happens, what President Trump might say today as well to kind of combat this, because sure, he's the current president, but he's also campaigning to be a president for 4 more years. So what is his campaigning process going to be in this situation? This is a big story, and this might be one of the most difficult challenges he's going to have to face in his campaign for 2020 presidential campaign.
Yeah, this is not something that he can just ignore and hope it blows over, because this time, they're really motivated, and like I said, they're actually going through with this whole impeachment process. So this is really going to take a lot of time out of Donald Trump's campaign and take a lot of his focus off of his campaign, which could end up benefiting the Democrats in the future now that you have Trump not as focused on his campaign and have a lot of his attention elsewhere and, trying to remain in office for the rest of the year rather than try and be reelected for 4 more years.
Well, Austin, this is going to be an interesting story, and we'll probably have some more information on it, if not this hour, tomorrow morning from 7 to 8, or even this afternoon from 12 to 1 as well. But Austin, what's the traffic and weather looking like for the people that are driving around the local area and getting ready for school this morning?
So let's take a look at the traffic here on I-495 North. It's pretty smooth all the way through Franklin, Mass. and around the area. There is heavy congestion, however, on I-90 North to Boston once you reach the I-495 connector. Expect delays as you head up I-95 North through Westwood. The local area around the Franklin schools is pretty clear and traffic is moving at a regular pace this morning. Now look at today's weather. It is currently 51 degrees here in Franklin. We will reach a high of 73 today at midday and then cool all the way down to 55 degrees overnight. Besides scattered showers tomorrow, the rest of the week looks very similar to today's clear weather. Thank you, Alex.
Well, thanks, Austin. And I mean, this is a great time of year. It's going to be about 74 today, I think you just said.
73, 74.
So, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, my rant of the day on Monday was that it was fall, and the first day of fall was this past Monday. It was 87 degrees on the first day of fall. I want to wear jeans and a sweatshirt. What am I wearing today? Jeans and a sweatshirt. I think, low 70s is perfect weather for jeans and a sweatshirt. It might get a little warm in the afternoon hour, 1 and 2, but I'll be inside all day in the air conditioner because the air conditioner is still on at school. So it gets pretty cold in our classrooms here at the Dean campus, and jeans and a sweatshirt you can't go wrong with. You can't. I know you're in shorts and a t-shirt today, and you're sporting your Astros shirt. What are you thinking today? What was the thought process of you putting on that Astros shirt?
Well, we're nearing the start of the MLB postseason, and I'm a big Carlos Correa fan. I am a Phillies fan, though. They've been eliminated from contention, but a big Correa fan and excited to kind of see what this Astros team can do in the postseason.
Do you feel like, again now, I'm from New York, so I'll defend the Yankees. Do you feel like the Astros can beat the Yankees without any problem?
I wouldn't say without any problem. I think the Astros can beat the Yankees, but I think it's going to go to, it's going to go to 5 or 7 games, and I don't think it's going to be a clean sweep by either team. The Yankees have enough talent, and there's a reason they have 102 wins on the season, tied with the Astros. You don't just get to that mark by a lot of luck and, no talent. So there's clearly a lot of different ways the Yankees, can beat the Astros, and there's a lot of ways the Astros can beat the Yankees, and Astros veterans perform in the postseason.
And this is my favorite time of year. Postseason baseball, there's nothing better. I think maybe playoff hockey can combat it. I mean, in recent years, I don't think the postseason in the NFL, the playoff football is not that feel factor, because when you watch playoff baseball, there's something about it that you can't explain. It's special. There's so much history, and I think that is why, at the end of the day, baseball is America's pastime, right? When you watch playoff baseball and you think back of all the memories that if you're in your 80s and have been watching baseball your entire life, or if, you're in college, high school, or middle school and you've watched baseball for 5 years, it still has that spectacle factor into it. It's a spectacle. That's what it is. And especially in the game of baseball, you can put up the Miami Marlins or the Detroit Tigers up against the Astros, the Yankees, or the Dodgers in a 3-game series. There's a good shot that the Tigers, the Marlins, or another team that didn't really do that well this year could beat them. That's the thing about baseball that is something different from any other sport. You can put the worst team going up against the best team, and the worst team still has a shot against the best team in baseball. And that's what's special about the postseason, because at the end of the day, you really don't know who's going to win. Sure, you have your predictions. Sure, you have your favorites. The Red Sox had a special year last year. If you go back, the Astros had a special year the year before. You look back in 2013 or 2014, the Kansas City Royals, that was a special year for them. But when they went up against the Mets, they thought the Mets were going to win too. So at the end of the day, you really don't know who's going to win in the postseason. It's almost like a smaller sample size of March Madness. March Madness is a spectacle like no other, and it's an event like no other as well. But at the end of the day, playoff baseball is special, and nothing can really describe it. But anyways, we're going to go into the top 5 news headlines of the day. And once again, we have WWE analyst Brian Campbell and boxing analyst joining us on the phone lines at 7:35. So the first news story of the day, and this is a great one. So original Jurassic Park cast is returning for Jurassic World 3. So Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum are set to reprise their iconic roles for the third Jurassic World movie. The film's director has confirmed speaking at the screening on Tuesday night, and the 3 would have sizable roles in the sequel, according to the calendar. The 3 stars have remained largely absent from the franchise after it was rebooted in 2015 with Jurassic World, although Goldblum had a small role in 2018's Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom. Neil has been absent from the franchise since the 2001's Jurassic Park 3, in which Dern had made a cameo in. And the exact plot details of the Jurassic World 3, which will be coming up in 2021. The end of The Fallen Kingdom saw dinosaurs released into the wild, and if the sequel is set after the film, it will have to deal with the fallout from this. So it's going to be, so they're briefly explore this so-called Neo-Jurassic Age in a short film called Battle at the Big Rock, which is set 1 year after the events of the Fallen Kingdom and shows one's family's attempt to deal with this dangerous new world. So Jurassic World 3 is due to be released on June 11, 2021, and this is exciting. If you are a Jurassic Park / Jurassic World fan, this is going to be a good movie, I feel. And I think if it's done correctly, people are going to love this. It could be a classic movie.
Yeah, honestly, Alex, I haven't seen any of the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies, but from what I've heard in taking TV classes when we analyze movies and, looked at the numbers for movies, a lot of people are into these movies and, looking at the plot and the potential characters in this one, this has the potential to be the best of the bunch.
The Jurassic World 2 movie that came out about a year ago, it was kind of dark. It was a very dark movie, more darker than the first one. And you have to watch them. They're classic movies. And you would enjoy them, I feel. And especially with the new one coming out with the main cast returning, and you have to start wondering, when they do that, you have to think, maybe this is going to be it. Maybe this is when they kind of die down a little bit and, go out with a bang. But again, they're still making money with the movies, so I'm sure there'll be a 4th or a 5th, or maybe there'll be a different Jurassic. Maybe it'll be like a Jurassic Earth or something like that, Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. So again, maybe they'll go a different way to reboot the franchise down the line. That's what we see a lot now. Star Wars has been rebooted. All these different movies, TV shows have been rebooted in recent years. So again, but you have to wonder with the return of these main cast, maybe they're going out with a bang with this one. So headline number 4. So the internet thinks there's a new tropical storm. Did you see this headline? This is something. So a new tropical storm. They're calling it Karen, and I thought the whole news article goes into talking about how it's hilarious, and it's a meme now. They took the radar map of the tropical storm and put the face from Mean Girls, Karen. And when we were picking these headlines today, I thought, yes or no, maybe I'll put this in there. But the reason why I wanted to put this in there is because it's Wednesday, and everyone wears pink on Wednesday. Anyways, it was a bad joke. But from Mean Girls, so the mom, I believe, from Karen, the mom from Mean Girls, is now a meme, and it's the new tropical storm, Karen. It's a meme.
Huh. Interesting. It's kind of funny how social media and Twitter can take really dangerous and threatening things such as a tropical storm or hurricane and kind of turn them into a big joke.
Well, and that's what I mean. Tropical storms and hurricanes are nothing to joke about, but This is an interesting story, and we'll see where it goes. Because with memes nowadays, like you were just saying, with social media, anything can be quote unquote a meme. And so, headline number 3: a robot dog is for rent. This is interesting, and they said the Boston Dynamic robots. They're the viral ones for doing the backflips and the parkour on Twitter. Now you can actually have one because the company is finally allowing the customers to lease a version of its robot dog. Spot. Name is Spot. But adjust your expectations and prepare for your wallet, obviously. The company will be selective about who gets a Spot. No pun intended. And though it hasn't provided a specific price, it says it will be about the price of a car. So you can get a robot dog for a price of a car.
Yeah, I can't imagine spending $20,000 or more on a robot dog when you can buy an actual dog for $1,000 and have that dog be with you for many years and actually give you companionship rather than just buying a robot who's a dog. This is just amazing to me.
You know, I'm going to put out a challenge. If anyone out there is thinking about renting a dog for $20 plus $1,000, I say instead of doing that, go to your local shelter and save a dog's life. That's simple. You know, there's so many dogs that are out there at an animal shelter, and you are going to spend $20 plus $1,000 on a robot dog.
On renting a robot dog.
Renting
You don't get to keep it either.
Right. Unbelievable. Headline number 2: McDonald's enlists Alexa and Google to help with its hiring. It says, want a job at McDonald's? Just ask your smartphone. Starting Wednesday, McDonald's Corp will let job seekers start an application by using voice commands with Amazon's Alexa or Google Assistant. If users say, Alexa, help me get a job at McDonald's, Alexa will ask which country they want to work in and play McDonald's catchy I'm loving it jingle. After that, users can share their phone number and get a link to continue the application process. Alexa also shares some facts about working for the company, such as how it can lead to jobs in other fields. The function is available in the US, Canada, Australia, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. McDonald's is also exploring adding the feature in other markets. It's not yet available, though, for Apple's Siri. And this is an unusual one. While some job recruitment companies have built voice recognition systems on Google and Amazon platforms, but both companies say McDonald's is the first direct employer to use its platform in this way. And McDonald's actually developed this technology itself. So now you can get a job just by asking your smartphone. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, it's crazy how far technology's come, but it's also very convenient for people, though, and it makes finding a job as easy as it's ever been. So if somebody is, doesn't want to go through the hassle of getting a paper application, or, maybe they can't, drive to get a paper application or even access a computer, doing it right on their smartphone is very convenient. But it is, like you said, it's kind of insane how, easy they're making it for people. And it used to be, if you want the job, you walk there to go get the job, or and you do anything to try and get it. Now it's just, ask my phone to help me get the job.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes from here, because if you think about it, how many times do you look for jobs, especially the younger audience? Again, the younger generation, if you are, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you're looking for a job, to make money while in college. So again, this is a time where the age group can work at McDonald's. And this is, like you were saying, an easier way to possibly get a job, and more to just an easier way to go about it. And that's what this is.
Yeah, it's just a convenience thing again. And that's what, technology companies, any really company wants to do is, what is the easiest way to get people information or allow people to access information, and it all revolves around convenience. So that's what companies are looking to do, and that's why McDonald's is popular as a fast food restaurant as it is, because of convenience, and it makes it so easy for people to get what they want and get what they want quickly.
So the last news headline of the day, and whenever we do these news headlines since the start of the show, this is show number 3. We started the Alex Feuz show on Monday of this week, and we're in show number 3 now. And the last story is always what national day it is. And today, it is an interesting one, and we'll talk about, we'll talk about why. It's National Lobster Day. And, I thought I would pick this one, especially because around the area, right down the 495 is Cape Cod, and Cape Cod is famous for its lobster, as well as Rhode Island, our neighbor state as well. And so again, today, National Lobster Day on September 25th. It takes a taste of a seafood favorite. The simplest way to enjoy lobster is boiled and then dipped in melted butter. A couple of favorite lobster recipes include lobster Newburgh and lobster Thermidor, I believe. Thermidor, yeah. It is also a main ingredient in soup, salads, and my favorite, lobster rolls. I love the lobster rolls. And they say large lobsters are estimated to be 50 years old. So, again, National Lobster Day. And it's interesting, and this is they say, how to observe National Lobster Day. Celebrate by enjoying a delicious lobster meal at your favorite seafood restaurant. Try cooking a lobster dish at home. It will wow the family and make it a true celebration. Use hashtag National Lobster Day on your social media. And so, happy National Lobster Day, Austin.
Happy National Lobster Day, Alex. Do you like lobster?
I love lobster, but I don't eat it enough. I feel like it's one of those meals that you only eat once or twice a year. I went to the Big E this past weekend, and they have different states. The northeast states there. You have the Maine, the Rhode Islands, the Connecticut's, the Massachusetts. And so you have all those northeast states there, and Maine had a lobster shack there that. And I had a lobster roll, and I love the lobster rolls, and I had one over the summer when I was on the Cape as well. So I love lobster rolls. I can't remember the last time I had lobster legs, but the dipped in butter is just to die for. Yeah, it's one of the best treats out there, and it's pretty underrated. I would feel, maybe in my world, because from upstate New York, no one really has lobster up there. It's more of an Italian area, and plus my family, so I mean, we're not huge fish people or seafood people, but I love lobster every now and then. Whenever I go out to eat with my grandma, the 99 has a great lobster roll. So sometimes when I go out to eat with her, we'll get lobster roll. But other than that, do you like lobster?
It's okay. I don't love it, but growing up in New England, it's all around us, seafood here. So I've experienced seafood for 18, almost 19 years. So I mean, it kind of gets old after a while, but I'm more into steaks and chicken and stuff like that rather than seafood. But I can see why people love lobster, and there's a lot of different things you can do with it, which is why it's partly a national holiday.
And that's the main thing. And but again, happy National Lobster Day. And what's interesting about this is you would think that maybe National Lobster Day would be earlier, because at this time of year, lobster is not that popular. It kind of once Labor Day hits, you don't really like I would crave lobster on a nice summer day. You go down to the Cape if you're in the area, in Massachusetts or around the area, and then if it's a nice summer day, you would kind of want to crave some lobster. You go on the Cape, go to the beach or whatever, and then after you get some lobster and then maybe some ice cream as well. Oh, imagine lobster ice cream. That has to be a thing somewhere, but that sounds, I'm getting sick. Change the topic. I'm sorry, guys. I said lobster and ice cream. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to throw up. But it's interesting to see, Lobster Day so late and almost in October. You think maybe June, July. But no. Let's pick September 25th for National Lobster Day. Anyway, so that concludes the top 5 news headlines of the day. Austin, I'm going to send it back to you for some traffic and weather updates. And then at 7:30, we're going to pick the song of the day. And then at 7:35, we'll be joined on the phone lines with WWE analyst Mr. Brian Campbell. So I'll send it over to Austin for our traffic and weather updates now on Power 88 Radio, broadcasting live from Dean College.
So Alex, the traffic.
Well, thank you, Austin. And once again, our song of the day. Da, da, da. We got to get some sound effects in there before this. It's a new segment starting today, and it's going to be a fun one. So this song, I'll introduce it. It's by The Killers, Mr. Brightside. So now, here is The Killers, Mr. Brightside, here on Power 88. And once again, you are listening to The Alex Feuz Show. Here's the song of the day. Well, welcome back to the Alex Feuz Show. I'm on the phone live with a WWE analyst for CBS Sports and also boxing and MMA. So, Brian, there's a big shift about to come for the WWE. WWE SmackDown Live is going to Friday nights on Fox, coming this upcoming Friday next week. So, again, this is a big shift for the WWE. Do you feel like this could really shift the popularity even more than current WWE?
Yeah, first of all, Alex, congratulations on the new show. Great to be talking to you again. And you got to look at this as a potential turning point for the industry right now. I like to say that we're either in the midst or knocking on the door of like a third boom period. You had the launch of WWE going national in the 80s with WrestleMania, and then, of course, you had the Attitude Era. Right now, with the access we have to pro wrestling across the board and the quality of the product, this is really a prime time for WWE to be doing this, which is going to a weekly live national television forum like this Friday nights on a channel in which WWE can rely on Fox to use their NFL coverage, their boxing coverage, to promote them. They really have a chance to go full-on mainstream again. Now, certainly you're going to need a few things. You're going to need top-notch, week-to-week storytelling, and you're going to need the right presentation of stars. WWE has no shortage of stars in 2019. It's almost ridiculous how deep the roster is in terms of talent. But if we're going to sit here and sort of nitpick, the one thing WWE hasn't done a great job in recent years is sort of picking one or two guys and allowing them to become the Rock and Austin of this era. I think if you see 2 or 3 stars really go on an organic type of run where they are grabbing the attention of the casual fans, this has all the makings right now to be a key time in sort of how we view pro wrestling and how really the mainstream might view it too, if this can be a weekly success and bring in 2 to 3 million viewers each week.
How important is NXT also going on this mainstream brand as well, as along with Monday Night Raw and then now Friday Night SmackDown Live?
Again, this almost doubles down on what I just said in terms of it has a lot of legs in terms of what it could do for the business. And what I mean by that is if you're a hardcore follower of wrestling day to day, week to week, you watch everything, you'll know pretty quickly that NXT is arguably the best thing going on in wrestling worldwide in terms of a consistent weekly product that feels a little bit old, feels a little bit new, and just seems to be more about the meat, the storytelling, the great matches than it is about some of the other corporate things that a billion-dollar corporation like WWE proper can be about. So WWE elevating NXT to live television, to the weekly mainstream, I think has the long-term potential of changing the way WWE's Raw and SmackDown does business. Because if this can attract that lapsed core of fans, the fans who grew up watching wrestling, but then sort of got tired by the same flavor, the same taste of what WWE was over a stretch of 20 years where they've completely dominated the business and completely sort of set the standards and trends of what pro wrestling is today. Well, what happened in the last few years? The indies exploded. People have easier access to things like New Japan, Ring of Honor, this new up-and-coming launch of AEW. So if you've been a long-time WWE fan but sort of realize that there's stuff going on outside of WWE that at times is just as good or better, then you're going to love NXT, because this is not only going on within the grounds of WWE, but it's arguably better than what happens week to week on Raw and SmackDown. And elevating that to a weekly TV platform is not only going to help them in the new quote-unquote Wednesday Night Wars when NXT starts competing directly with AEW in the next few weeks. But I think even bigger, NXT's competing with Raw and SmackDown on a quality level. And if the viewers start really going to Wednesday nights live and WWE sees a shift in that movement, I don't see how the powers that be, the quality control people at WWE, don't take a larger look at what they're doing and saying, is this formula actually the best move that we can do to entertain our fans across the board?
If you were the commissioner of NXT brand, and again, this is going to compete against Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, who would be 2 to 3 current roster picks for you to bring to NXT?
That's an interesting question, because what we don't really have a full grasp on right now is NXT going to be a part of the same storytelling universe as Raw and SmackDown, or will it be separate? Will it be a brand that can house more of an indie type style of wrestler, a guy who might not be big enough to go in just terms of visuals and size to go on Raw and SmackDown and become a crossover star? But if they are in that same universe, good Lord, I mean, could Kevin Owens be a better move to bring him to NXT, use his star power to help bring non-woke casual fans to that brand? And then at the same time, you consider he came from the indies. He cut his teeth in Ring of Honor with the same guys who are currently populating the NXT's top of the card. That could be a real perfect choice from somebody who would fit in well in that high work rate style, a little bit more of the type of promos that are more to the actual person and not so much written as we see on the main roster. NXT performers seem to have a little bit more freedom to be themselves. I think you've got a tremendous building block already in place with a guy like Velveteen Dream, who could be a star, could be main eventing a WrestleMania tomorrow if you ask me. But if you want to bring people from the main roster to sort of inject what they can do well, you couldn't do any better than Kevin Owens.
Again, Brock Lesnar also going to be on SmackDown Live on Friday nights. How important is WWE and Brock Lesnar going to be for the future of this? Again, main star attraction, almost similar to, again, this is another question that maybe I'll ask after the Lesnar part about also Ronda Rousey too, another current star, in that aspect to attract some non-traditional WWE fans. So how important is Brock Lesnar and the future of Ronda Rousey to this current WWE product?
Massively important. If you look at what Fox had before getting this WWE deal, they were the exclusive home of the UFC from 2011 until just this past year when they signed a monster deal with ESPN. So you have a traditional, consistent group of viewers who are sort of trained to know what UFC is and who Brock Lesnar is, or was, if you will, as the former UFC heavyweight champion. So that allows you an opportunity to just grab attention, grab viewers, grab people who don't watch wrestling or who used to and no longer think they like it. And if they're watching a big NFL game on Sunday and they see those promos, they see that Brock Lesnar is going to be there Friday night, they might take a test drive. You might have one opportunity, 1 week, one episode to really get them in. You do need people like Brock Lesnar, and I know sometimes that creates a groan with the hardcore wrestling fan, the one who's there every week, who says, I'm a little worn down from the idea of Vince McMahon either panicking or by laziness, just always throwing a championship belt back around Brock Lesnar's waist. But I think sometimes he hasn't gotten the best booking, and it allows us to forget the larger picture, which is he's one of the all-time great draws and one of the all-time great performers. I wouldn't want anyone else being sort of a face of the product for SmackDown, moving to a national television live primetime opportunity. So get ready to get a lot of Brock Lesnar in your future, because it's very rare in this industry in 2019 where, yes, we're in a boom period and everything's great, but it also is an oversaturated period where you have true unique draws and superstars, and Brock Lesnar's almost a unique throwback in that regard. He's not there every week stuffed down your throat in 19 different segments on Raw. When he does show up, it always seems extra special. So let's see how they use him on Friday nights, because this is a big deal.
Brian, I don't know if you saw this or not, but last night on SmackDown, for the last time on the USA Network, it experimented with a lower frame rate on SmackDown, and a lot of fans were talking about this. Again, the weekly fans, the hardcore wrestling fans that watch WWE, and it appears that WWE lowered the frame rate from the ringside cameras, and it might not have looked as noticeable from mobile phone, but you could see it more noticeable on the TV screen. So is this something that WWE is going to try to do for future programming?
I think there's a couple of things in play here, and let's not, if people don't know, look, WWE ahead of this move to SmackDown or moving to Fox on Friday nights, sort of, really took time to poll fans, media members. They actually hired an independent group to sort of come in and do a larger, in-depth investigative survey and find out, look, when we move SmackDown to Friday nights, what can we do differently? What should we be doing? How are we alienating fans and don't realize it? One thing for WWE proper as we're on SmackDown is, look, the production quality is typically off the charts. But you got to ask yourself in 2019, where wrestling is a little bit different than where it was 10, 15 years ago. If fans care about that as much, you look just as a polar opposite product, NXT, like I talked about, which does things so grassroots, makes it all about the match, makes it all about the chase for a title. They actually dim the lights over the crowd, so the crowd with the signs and the beach balls is not a part of the product and presentation for the most part. It's about what happens in that ring. If WWE can take something like SmackDown, where they do have a short window here to grab your attention. And if you don't care about wrestling at all, you're going to give this maybe 10 minutes, maybe flipping through. You might give it 5 seconds, but you're going to give SmackDown one chance to win you over. And I like the idea that WWE might be thinking or debating, are we doing things the right way? Is there another way we could be doing this that grabs people's attention better and keeps the focus on what it should be? And I think tied into that idea is, for too long in WWE proper main roster, everything has seemed to taste the same and look the same. Whether you're watching Raw or SmackDown or a pay-per-view, you don't necessarily know the difference. If you saw a quick flash of it, you wouldn't tell off the bat. A lot of fans' response have been, look, let's make pay-per-views feel special. Let's make Raw and SmackDown seem and feel completely different in terms of when you click that TV, you know you're watching something separate than you watched a few nights before. I think with SmackDown moving to Fox, with Raw staying on NBC Universal on the USA Network, you've got some potential for a little bit of in-house competition, because you've got two different people opening up their wallets and they're expecting big ratings. So I think it would behoove WWE to make Raw and SmackDown look completely different from each other, and also maybe to alter some things to make it more about what happens inside that ring.
Brian, last question for you. You talked about it in your last response. It's about grabbing the fans' attention that not necessarily are WWE fans. You have people listening to this show right now that most likely aren't WWE fans. What's your pitch? You've been a wrestling fan for pretty much your whole entire life. So what is your pitch to those non-wrestling fans to tune in to Friday nights when SmackDown moves to Fox?
I think, if you haven't watched wrestling in a while, or you never have, there's sort of this negative connotation, probably as a hangover from the Attitude Era, that pro wrestling is crap. It's gaga. It's a bunch of bad jokes about sometimes sex, about, it's just fake fighting, right? It's just a bunch of bozos out there. But the reality is, this art form, when done perfectly, is a perfect simulation of real fighting. I think that's why people are so eager to find other organizations outside of WWE to see how things are done differently. In 2019, if you haven't watched wrestling in a long time, the work rate, the physicality, the chances that these performers take, the flips, the moves are insane. They don't compare to the wrestling we saw in the 80s and 90s. So if you're looking for something that is much more of a simulation of actual real fighting, and we know there's a lot of boxing and MMA fans out there, pro wrestling in 2019 is getting closer to really giving you that on a consistent basis. And WWE, like we mentioned, has this chance. They know they have this chance to get back into your living room, to make you care again every Friday night, and use those arms, those tentacles of weekly NFL broadcasts and weekly boxing broadcasts as commercials to get you back in. You may just fall back in love with this thing, or fall in love with it for the first time, because the athleticism is through the roof. There's more talent right now on WWE's roster than maybe has ever been in the business at any one time. You're going to see something special if you give it a chance, but it is up to WWE to keep you there. You may try it once, but they're going to have to need the storylines, the consistent attention to detail to really take what they have, the package, and let it pop.
Well, Brian, I want to say thank you for joining us on this morning's edition of the Alex Feuz Show. And so where can the Feuz Nation follow you on Twitter throughout WWE's transformation to Fox next week, as well as through the MMA and boxing news that you do so well at as well?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at BCampbellCBS, at Brian C. Campbell on Instagram. Hit me up across all three sports. Listen to my State of Combat podcast on CBS Sports 3 days a week, separate episodes for each combat sport. Fire it up. What a time to be alive, Alex Feuz.
Thank you, Brian. It's appreciated for you taking the time out of your busy morning to come on the Alex Feuz Show. Greatly appreciate you being a part of the first week on Power 88.
Best of luck, brother.
Thank you. All right, Feuz Nation, just heard it from the Brian Campbell. And again, now joining me back in the studio is Austin Dakuda. And to kind of just wrap up what Brian Campbell said, again, I've been a wrestling fan for probably about the last 10 years of my life. You know, and it's a great time to be alive if you are a WWE fan, and also a great time to get your other friends and family and relatives that may have watched it in the past now watch it again, because this is an exciting time for wrestling fans in this day and age. Austin, are you excited for this new era of the WWE?
Yeah, I'm very excited because it seems like the last couple of years we've kind of been just stalling and walking through a different, like just the same thing every week, if that makes sense. It's been a lot of the same on Raw, then over to SmackDown, and even on the pay-per-views I haven't been too excited. But if they're going to truly, change things up and give you good wrestling, and with NXT being involved, it could really be something different. And I'm actually excited for AEW because I think that actually lights a fire under WWE to actually make them realize, okay, we can't just be, mediocre anymore. We actually have to be different. We have to do something different because there is another company out there that has a following. And once that AEW continues to grow, there could be a little bit more of competition besides just NXT and AEW.
That's for sure. And to the last segment of today's episode of the Alex Feuz Show. Well, this part of this morning edition, because again, we'll be live on Power 88 from 12 to 1 this afternoon, as well as the chase for the MLB wild card. It's the crazy wrapping up of the regular season that is, and in the American League, in the wild card, you have Oakland in first with a 94 win record, and then in second is a Tampa Bay Rays, and then in third, you have the Cleveland Indians with 93 wins. And so the Indians are only a half game out in the American League wild card. And then in the National League wild card, it's pretty much set. The Nationals are in first, and then the Milwaukee Brewers are in second. And the Mets are in third with 82 wins, and they're 5 games out of that wild card spot. So we're pretty much set with the National League wild card. The Mets avoided the playoff elimination on Tuesday. But this is, with 5 games out, if they lose tonight, they're done. And Dean Drucker, who will be the guest on the afternoon edition of the Alex Feuz Show, will obviously not be too happy with that. But again, so this is a time where, the Mets had a shot at one point, but time has ran out, and they just didn't play consistently. That was it. Just not consistent baseball out of that side of New York.
Right, yeah, the Mets had a chance, the Phillies had a chance, and the Diamondbacks, because the Cubs were that second wild card for multiple weeks, and they were holding on. And the Brewers, once they lost Yelich, everybody kind of ripped the Brewers off and said, oh, the Brewers are done. They don't have Yelich anymore. But funny enough, the Cubs have been on a terrible losing streak, and we've seen one of the worst collapses in September by the Cubs. They had a few-game lead in that second wild card spot, and they've fallen all the way down to 5 games out of the second wild card spot, and they're only at 82 wins now. And you have to think, if you're a Cubs fan, that Theo Epstein might be seeing his last day as a Cubs president, and Joe Madden he's a little bit more protected, I think, in his job because it's more roster construction, but Joe Madden could be seeing his last days as a Cubs manager. And, talking about the Mets too, Alex, they made a nice little run to get to where they were, but then just were never able to get past that. So there could be a lot of different front office changes happening in the NL, but like you said, the Brewers and the Nationals are set in those 2 positions, and the Brewers really with an incredible run from 4 games back to come all the way up and lead by 5 games in the NL wildcard.
And this is something that's going to be interesting to see about, talk about, I feel like no one's safe if you're a manager in today's day and age in baseball. Ever after when the Yankees were one game away from going to the World Series in 2017, and after they lost to the Astros in it was a tough, series for the Yankees, and that marked the end of Joe Girardi's reign in New York. And when you had an MLB team that was one game away from the World Series, you would think that would renew a contract. Yes, the Yankees did not fire Joe Girardi. They just didn't offer him a contract to come back, and then they hired a guy that no manager will experience in his whole entire career in Aaron Boone. But now you have to start questioning, okay, and ever after that, Alex Cora, another one, never had manager. He had coaching experience, but never was a manager in Major League Baseball. So again, you see it now in today's age in baseball where managers are getting let go even if they have, a good season. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Joe Madden. And then also we'll quickly, we have about 1 minute left, so we're going to just quickly talk about the American League wild card. Oakland's in first with 94 wins. Tampa Bay is in second with 94 wins. And Cleveland, a half game out of second place with 93 wins. And G-Man Choi, who's had a phenomenal season for Tampa, hit a game-ending home run in the 12th inning to end it 2-1 triumph over the Yankees. And this is a time where, well, by the way, the Yankees are one home run away from 300 this season as well. But it's going to be interesting to see the next few days to see who finishes the two last teams in the American League wild card between Oakland, Tampa, and Cleveland. This has been the race for the past 2-3 weeks as well, because Boston's pretty much been out of quote-unquote contention for this as well. But unbelievable. I'm excited to see, and I'm intrigued to see what happens with these three teams going down the races here.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to predict because it's so close, and each team you can make a case for, winning the wild card. You got the Athletics, who have just been tremendous all season long for a team that doesn't have a ton of names that jump off the page. The Rays, who continue to win games late, walking off twice against the Red Sox last week. As you said, G-Man Choi helping them triumph over the Yankees. And the Cleveland Indians, who just got Jose Ramirez back, who hit a grand slam in his first at-bat back from hand surgery. So each team, really, you can make a case to win the wild card. I have to personally pick the A's and the Indians to win the wild card. I think the Indians just have enough talent. With the Rays, eventually you're going to kind of see that they don't have, guys who are able to get it done late eventually. They're doing it so far this year, but I think their luck is going to run out.
Well, Austin, I want to say thank you for joining me on this morning edition of the Alex Feuz Show. And once again, signing off for myself along Austin Dakuta, I'm Alex Feuz. And be sure to eat your lunch and listen to the Alex Feuz Show this afternoon from 12 to 1 p.m. First guest is Dean Drucker, the Dean of Students here at Dean College, as well as Austin Dakuta, who will be joining me in the studio from 12:30 to 1. Once again, thank you to Brian Campbell for being a guest on the show. Tomorrow morning's edition of the Alex Feuz Show, Field Yates, NFL reporter, joining us live at the start of the show right at 7 a.m. to start. So Field Yates coming on the show tomorrow morning. Along with Austin, I'm Alex Feuz. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning to listen to the Alex Feuz Show. And now back to the regular programming here on Southeastern's Hottest Rock, Power 88. Have a great rest of your day.